welcome. Welcome. Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. It is the beginning of a new week. A new week. June is going by fast. This year is going by fast. So to everyone, I say welcome. And I hope everyone is having a good day. Hey, Frankie. You're number one today, girl. Welcome, welcome. And to anyone over on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, welcome, welcome. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop the music. Stop the music. Okay, so today, I am going to talk about interlopers. People who come between family or friends. Are there people in your life who want to separate you from the rest of your family or your friends? Do some people feel your family or your friends are dragging you down when it's actually them? What do you do? So, I don't know if everyone has friends like these, but I don't know if you want to call it jealousy. But who are those people who want to come between you and your family and your friends? Now, some people do it because it's a control issue. Some people come between family and friends because they want to control you. They want to, if they separate you from, you know, people that you know, people who are in your life, and if they make themselves the only um, person in your life, then they can control you and you can depend on them. But then you have, and those are usually in abusive situations. But then you have people who just want you all to themselves. You want that friend who, every time you're going to go shopping with this friend, they try to do something to intervene where you end up being with them. Or if you're going to go play basketball or, go play golf or whatever with this friend, they try to intervene where you're with them. Or they get upset when you plan to spend the day with someone else and not them. You know, they try to arrange things where, hey, you want to do this or you want to do that, where it's just the two of you. Now, is that jealousy? Are those people psycho? What is it? What is it? Why do some people feel the need, to just want you all to themselves? Are these people lonely? Do these people not have the ability to make friends? What is it? I mean, because people like that, I laugh, but they can drive you crazy, and they can also be dangerous. Those people can be dangerous. Are those people who kind of uh what can I say? They're lonely. They don't know how to make friends, or you become you become their imaginary best friend. They've worked something up in their head so much that you all have become besties when you're not. So again, I ask, are there people in your life who try to separate you from family? What do you think? Do you have family that family that try to separate you from other family? And what gets people to that point? I mean, what would make a person um uh what would make a person get to the point where they are just by themselves, and they see you as this opportunity to not be alone? Are those interlopers, or are those people that are just lonely? And I use the two words together because I think a lot of interlopers are lonely. Now, Power Girl says loneliness. Welcome, Alpha Mike. Power Girl says loneliness. But are interlopers truly lonely? Can we call them crazy? Can we? I mean, what other adjectives can we use? You know. Now again, I said that people who try to purposely, I'm using that word purposely, come between family or friends. A lot of times they do it for a control issue, and a lot of times you see that in people who are abusing another person. Either they're abusing their spouse, they're abusing their kid, their parents, whomever, their friends. You usually see those in abusive situations. But then again, I say you have interlopers who purposely want to separate you from a friend or family member out of jealousy. Alpha Mike says you're good alone. You know, um, I can feel you on that. But being good alone, I don't think is the same as being an interloper where you know you're feel like this. You could be alone but not lonely, right? So loneliness and being alone are not the same thing. Or do you think that it is? And Alpha, if you want to come up, you can come up. I know you talk about your cussing, but if you want to come up, you are more than welcome to come up. It's up to you. Up to you. I'll send you an invite just in case you want to. If not, I totally understand. So let's see. I think anyone can be lonely no matter the situation. Okay, but again, is being alone the same? And I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but I'm going to bring it back around to the interloper. So again, is being alone the same thing as being lonely? I mean, you can have a job where you're alone. It doesn't mean you're lonely. You can live by yourself. Doesn't mean that you're lonely. Because I see loneliness as someone who One, and welcome, Michael. Michael. Lots of Michaels on Podbean. Which one are you? Okay, so you know, you can live by yourself and not be lonely. So again, loneliness where you don't have anyone to talk to, you don't have an outlet. When I say an outlet, I mean like a hobby or a job. Um, you know, you just are just lonely as opposed to living by yourself or being alone. So when you have an interloper, are interlopers, are they lonely? Petty Dad, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, so again, if you if you're an interloper and you're trying to get because I know someone right now who is an interloper. You know, they're an interloper between me and another person, and they think they're succeeding, but they're not. You know, I think this person is more of an interloper because of jealousy, and it's been going along, it's been going along for some time. But are all interlopers jealous? Are interlopers controlling? And again, not the controlling in the abusive way, but uh, the controlling in uh, just a needy way. You know, are some interlopers just needy? Anybody? Anybody? Let's see. Where did I leave off? Okay, so okay, you guys are just saying hi to each other. Okay. Um, you know, so do some people feel, those same interlopers feel that your family is dragging you down when it's actually them? They're trying to tell you, they're trying to come between you and your family or your friends, and they're saying, oh, you know, don't hang out with this person, or you should, you know, distance yourself from this person because they're doing this to you. You know, they're trying to convince you that, you know, that your family members or that other friend or that other person or that other coworker is dragging you down when the person who's actually dragging you down is them. I mean, what do you do? What do you do? Okay, I have a room full of non-talkers here. And frankly, I say that with no disrespect to you. Um, uh, you know, oh my, oh my goodness, you guys had me laughing so hard last week. I don't think my heart can take it again. Oh boy. Oh. All right. So, okay. So we have someone who has come in, and I'm not sure how to welcome you, what to call you, because I don't see your name. But welcome, welcome. I'm a light worker, ordained minister, musician, and alien. Okay. All right. Seems like we have the same followers, so to speak. All right. Okay. So, um, hmm. Call them yoga master. Oh, that's a good one, Mike. Uh, No, I'm off track of what I was saying. Oh my goodness. Okay, so our interlopers, are they controlling? Are they controlling people? Are they lonely controlling people? Because an interloper, to me, if you give them enough room, they can really do damage, not to just to your relationships, but to your life. I think that given the chance, like I said, depending upon how far gone they are, they can be dangerous and a little bit on the psycho side. So when you have someone like that in your life, what do you do? Do you call them out? Do you just distance yourself? You just slowly distance yourself until one day, you all are not speaking anymore. And while you're doing that to them, you know what you're doing on your side. But on the flip side, on their side, are you making them angry? Where this interloper can start to use other tactics so they can be with you? Because now I sound like I'm talking about a crazy person, but I think a lot of interlopers, I think some of them are crazy. I think some of them do have issues, because if they didn't, why would they want to come in between you and someone else? And I'm not talking about someone who, they see that you're in a bad relationship or something, and they're trying to, be your friend or whatever and get you away from a dangerous situation. I'm talking about someone who is not happy that that you may be in a position that they want to be. So they're going to do what they can to come in between you and your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, your husband, your wife, your children. There are people like that are out there. So again, I ask, what do you do? Well, y'all gonna make me work today, because nobody wants to come up and speak. No one wants to come up and speak with me today. Okay. I will keep. I am trying, Mike. But when you have, when you have a group that doesn't want to say anything, is it's kind of hard when you have a group that doesn't want to say anything. Hey, Mr. B, welcome, welcome. So again, I ask, what do you do? I mean, okay, I'm not even going to ask that question again. I'm going to ask another question. Do you guys agree with me when I say that some interlopers can be dangerous? That if you start to distance yourself from them, you know, again, you know what you're doing on your side, but on their side, you don't know what's going on in their head. You just don't know. Do you agree with me that some people? I am trying to. Oh, you're trying to call. Okay, hold on. Let me send you. Mr.
Oh,
B, you are saving me here. No one wanted to come up and talk. They had me working.
it's all good. I thought you trying to be an introvert. Didn't want nobody up there. I'm like, okay.
Oh no, 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 no. I welcome well,
Uh,
not everyone, but I do. Not
yeah,
everyone.
real quick. Some people.
So some people, yeah.
So the introvert. So to rephrase your question, to make sure I understand is the question is about. Do you think being around somebody who keeps everything to themselves could be
No, no, no,
dangerous?
no, 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 no. I'm saying no. That's no. Mike said we are introverts, saying that everybody on the panel was quiet. No, I'm talking about an interloper, people who purposely come between family and friends. Do you
Oh,
think that interlopers, not all, but some,
hmm
can be dangerous? That if they find that their tactics are not working to become between you and whomever, that they can be dangerous. Because most interlopers, when they try to come, who purposely, and again, purposely come between you and someone else, doesn't that mean that they want you all to themselves?
Yeah, that's to me that's the definition of what do you call it? I can't think of a word, but it just means a
Crazy.
toxic relationship. No, toxic behavior.
So okay, but okay, so is all toxic? Okay, so you're saying that an interloper automatically has toxic behavior, or they have symptoms of toxic behavior?
Symptoms of it. Because if a relationship, whatever, a healthy relationship. I'm not trying to change the question or anything, but to me, a healthy relationship is being around different people, whatever. Then you be able to hang around and everything without friction, right? But if somebody feels like you gotta be with me, and you can't give no one else your time because I need your time. I think that's selfish and it can break relationships.
But what if those people don't think that they're being selfish? What if they truly believe that they're being this friend?
Uh, yeah,
Mr.
yeah,
B, I am the best friend that you will ever have, and you need to let Solid go because she's this, she's that, blah blah blah. You know, you know, I am the only person who can, just I can be that fun person for you. I can be that serious person. I mean, they want to be your all around person.
oh well. Some people on drugs don't think they're addicts, but they are. So I
Well,
think so. Yeah, I think to me, I couldn't do it. 'Cause I was with somebody who was like that,
I was just about to ask that. Go ahead.
and what happened was uh, I was still in school, whatever, high school, whatever. And when anytime I was talking to my separate friends, she was allowed to come over, it's fine. But then when they leave, she was like, "Can we do something?" Knowing that I was planning to do something else later on. So I didn't think that of it for a while, but then I started noticing like anytime I wanted to do something with my other friends, she had to be involved all the time. And then
Well, okay, let me ask this. Was it a trust issue that she didn't trust you, thinking you and and when you say your other friends, I'm assuming you're talking about Mel.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I
so
would say
was it a trust issue where she thought that maybe you all were gonna go and talk to other girls or
no, I don't,
something, or
no, it wasn't trust thing. To me, it's more like I can't live without you kind of thing. You know, like you, life is so much better when you're around kind of thing. Like I just neediness. Just like I can't do this without you. But this needy. But I mean, some people like that. I per se don't up to a point. So to me, I think you can you can ask for so much attention, then you kind of smother the person.
so
Does,
did
does
you
that make
ever
sense?
have? Sorry.
I said, do you understand what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say?
yeah. So, but what I want to ask you is, okay, so you're putting it into the context of a relationship where you all were romantically involved type of relationship. Have you ever had a relationship like that with a family member or one of your male friends, either growing up or now or something, where that person is trying to come between you and another family member, or when you were
Oh
younger?
well, yeah, I had that one time before. Guy at work, we used to we worked like 12 hours all the time, so we got real close, whatever. So we was hanging out and everything. But then when I started to do so with me and my other family and stuff, he started getting jealous because I was doing other stuff.
So compare him to the girlfriend you had. Are the are the is the behavior the same?
I would say the behavior is the same. Is because they both wanted my time all the time.
Now, did you ever see that um, either one of them could go the dangerous route?
No, not like. being like harmful and everything, but more like just trying to become a manipulative a little
Well,
way, you know.
well, that's also dangerous. Did they ever feel that your family or your friends were dragging you down when it was actually them?
Oh yeah, the girlfriend was. She was like, you could be she treated me something like I could be doing this instead, or I don't take out as much as I used to, which wasn't true. She was just trying to make situations that wasn't really there, you know.
So, and I don't mean to get all into your business, even though
That's
I
fine.
am.
Yours are fine.
Um, so, did you end the relationship? Did she end it? And if you did end it, was it because of her behavior?
Oh yeah, I had to end it because of her behavior. Because I couldn't make her happy no more.
Okay, so once again, I'm going to ask you: is being an interloper, because you brought up the word toxic, is being an interloper still somewhat toxic behavior?
To me, it is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So when you broke up with her, was she like upset, screaming, howling, crying, whatever, or she just said, okay," and that was it?
Now she was not upset. She would just say, "You're gonna miss me, and then I can, we could try again when I make my senses together." I'm like, okay,
I take it that never happened.
no, like okay,
So okay, so I want to go back to what we were talking about last week, back to the stalking thing. So if you're a stalker on the internet, or if you're sitting in front of somebody's house or following them around and you're taking photos, whatever. Um, do you think that that's the same as being an interloper?
no, because one you're hiding, you don't know the person's there spying.
But can't an interloper also hide? And what I mean by hide, I mean, can't they also like pretend to be someone that they're not, and they're hiding their true selves?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wouldn't. I don't think so because if a person knows what's going on, but I guess if you don't realize what's going on, I guess it could be like a spy kind of thing, like you don't know what's going on. Like if you don't
But
know how to read
even
the signs, then yeah.
okay, because I was going to say, because when you say, even if you don't know what is going on, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have those people in your life who you don't know what's going on. I mean, I had the stalker that I have. I mean, I have a troll, and two of my friends, they called it early, and I didn't see it. And then when this person finally revealed their true selves, all the signs were there, and those two people called it.
Because I think sometimes it could be so close to the problem. It's too close, you can't see it.
So if a family member was trying to come between, say, you and your wife, or you know another um younger family member was trying to come between, your children, they're trying to divide the two of them, what do
Right.
you do? Do you immediately just call that person out and you stop seeing them? Do you warn them? And even if they're still in your life, do you still like half trust them, like you always kind of sleeping with one eye open because you don't know what that person's going to do?
I think it is what a person's comfortable with. I mean, for me, that happened to me before. When I did steps. I'm like, hey, there's some lines. Like you cross this line, cross that line, but this line right here, if you crossed it, I'm letting you know, I'm cutting you off. But everybody can't do that. So
so
others,
when
you just go ahead.
so when you say cut them off, you're talking about cut them off and I'm not coming back, or cut and we are done?
I mean, more like less contact. Like I'll call you every now and then, or something like that, or up to the point where you just got to cut them off completely because you got to make sure you're mentally stable.
Okay. All right.
Because if I'm not mentally stable, how can I help anyone else? If I'm not okay in my own head.
Okay. All right. When I was in high school, I think I was probably a junior in high school. There was this one particular girl who always tried to come between two of my other friends. She got along well with the one, but did not get along well with the other. And she did her best to try to come between them until we, meaning the rest of us who were the outsiders looking in, had to pull her over to the side and tell her to knock it off. And what you realize, or what I realized then, when I was just looking at the type of person she was and the type of friend she was, that's when, I mean, it took me until I was a junior, but that all of your friends don't necessarily like each other. They don't necessarily have to be in the same room. It's like it's okay to say you want to go to the movies with this person and not with that person. And if you're the person that's not invited to go, you need to understand that you have this mutual friend, and she's friends with both parties, and all of y'all are not necessarily going to, go to the same movie together or go shopping or whatever. But you have people who can't deal with that. You have people who cannot be the odd man out. And I think all of us, at least one time in our lives, at least one time in our lives, have always been the odd man out. So I don't know. Do you agree with that? Do you disagree? Or
No, I think it's okay. Some people don't mix well together, so that doesn't mean you can't be friends with some people. So I think some people just gotta respect that they might not like certain people. So they should just respect that. Because if my wife has a friend that I don't really like, that doesn't mean she can't be friends with him. I shouldn't be. This means I don't feel comfortable around it. So I'm like, all right, you go have fun, hang out, whatever. And I see when you get back, or just tolerate. Like, yeah, okay, fine, you go there. It's all about tolerance, or sometimes just it's okay to do stuff with other people. Sometimes by communicating, it's about um, communicating. You know.
well, okay. So let me ask this. So, and I'm going to put this
Before you say
on.
that, what I mean is like, say somebody likes watching scary movies, right? I
Mhm.
can't stand scary movies. I don't watch it. So my friends, when they go to scary movies, I don't go. They don't even ask me because I don't. But other people, oh yeah, you like scary movies? Yeah, okay, we go. So they go watch scary movies, go clean the house, but I don't go. It doesn't mean I'm not friends with them. Go ahead.
So, okay. So now let's take the friends out, and let's put your spouse in, okay, or your significant other. Should you, if you know that you don't care for your wife's friend, and your wife really wants you to go somewhere with the two of them, or you know where this person is going to be, and you know every time you are around this person, either you I mean you just try to just stay away from this person. Should you always go along just to get along, or should the other person who knows that, your wife or your husband, who knows that you don't care for this person, should they not even ask you to even go?
No, I think it's compromise because sometimes I do stuff that I know she might
Now,
not
I'm,
really.
I'm not saying doing an activity. I'm not saying, she wants you to go see a chick flick, and you want her to go to a football game. I'm talking about when you're around a particular person who
Um,
you just do not like, and she knows you don't like that person, or your husband knows you don't like that person. Is it fair for them to even ask you to be around this person? Doesn't have to do anything with
oh,
your job or anything. It's like, You go be with them, and like you said, and when you're finished, then I'll be at home or whatever.
Well, I've been blessed with his wife where she doesn't pressure me to do stuff like that. Right,
Okay.
right, Mr. B.
No,
No, but
no, and I think that's good because you do have some people in some relationships where it's like this, you have that one person, it's always that one who wants you to, just doesn't matter whether you like the person or not, they just want you to be there around them constantly, but they know that you don't like this person. And then when you get home, they may start an argument saying, well, you could at least have tried or whatever. It's like, we've been doing this for how many years now? And I don't like this person. So, I mean,
we know somebody who like that.
and see, I'm telling you, because there are people who are out
We
there
know what I'm
who
talking
are
about.
like that.
It's because she she comes over and hangs out with us and everything's fun and everything. But then when they leave, he complains about it so bad, like he had like the worst time in his life. But that's what he does, though. So what I'm saying, sometimes she said, never mind, we don't have to go. Oh no, we're gonna go. We're gonna have fun time, and then guilt trip her for the hour. How long? An hour or two back? Yeah. But
So,
you explain better than I can. Hold on.
oh, is this Mrs. B? I'm getting a chance to meet Mrs.
Yeah.
B.
Yeah.
Hey.
My wife.
No, I was just talking about my one friend and her boyfriend. And like she's cool and everything. She comes over and she's like, "Oh yeah, let's have a cookout, bonfire, whatever." And so we're making the plans to do it and everything. And then she's like, "Oh well, he's coming, and he doesn't really want to." But then, oh well, now he's coming. I talked him into it. And then he comes down here and he acts totally fine, like, "Hey, how you doing? Good, good," and talking and everything. And then on the way back, he's just complaining about how, well, why, I don't know why we had to spend all the time over there. That's just a waste of time to me. You know.
So, okay, so my question for her is, for the wife is, if you know that he's going to do this, why even bother asking him? Just let him be.
Because
If
she
he doesn't
can't,
want to
well,
come,
for her, she can't drive. She don't know how to drive. She never
well, then
got a
you know
license.
what? Then sometimes you just have to stay home. Then.
Yeah, I know. I told no, or sometimes I told her, I said, "Get your butt out there and drive. Get your permit." She got her permit, but she's been driving a little bit here and there. But I said, "You need to get out and drive and just come
So,
down."
so is it just the two of you that he doesn't like going to, or he's just like this with everybody?
I think he's like this with everybody. It's just like it's like a, I don't know. He said that type of person. He's the yes person. He'll yes, yes, that sounds great. Yes, yes, it's wonderful. And then when you get there, like, oh my god, why are we doing this? Then why'd you say yes? You know. So, yeah, I don't know.
See, I would have to tell her to stay home, because I would not want I would not want someone's wife or husband or whomever to consistently come over my house because you had to be bribed. And then when you leave, you're complaining about being there. You're a guest that I don't want.
Right.
Sorry.
Yep. Yep. So,
Sometimes we don't ask because of that. Sometimes.
yeah, sometimes we just don't say nothing. We just have her cook out and do whatever, and then we don't really say anything to him because we know it's like trying to get him to come over. It's like, oh, whatever.
So are these like people that you've known for a long time? They're your
Yeah,
neighbors.
I mean,
They're
just well, I mean, she's only been dating him for a year or so,
okay.
but
She's more like your sister, would you say?
she's more like I've been knowing her for like about 10 years or whatever. So you know what I mean. And my other cousin. That's my two main friends that I hang out with. But we don't hang out every weekend. But you know, um, just when we can.
So does the boyfriend have the potential of becoming an interloper should they get married or their relationship gets more serious? Like every time she does want to do something, he's going to start trying to stop her from going to see you guys, or going out to do whatever. Could
Well,
he?
I think in the sense of if he just says that he's going to stop driving her, yeah, it could stop a lot of things because if he doesn't drive, then she lives in Rock, like an hour away from where we live, so she won't be able to get down here.
But okay, but let's say she was driving. Let's say that she had a license and she can drive wherever she wanted to.
Right.
Um, uh, do you think that she would leave him at home at that point, or she would still
Oh
want him to
yeah, I
come?
think she would. She would, because we picked her up several times like that when he stayed home, and we just go ahead and picked her up. You know,
Okay, all
so
right.
I mean, it's like she's a, I don't know. That's why when I
Peggy wouldn't go.
well, yeah, but certain people, like when you start dating somebody or you start being serious or whatever, I think people have to realize their personalities, because like for her, she likes to go places and go do things, and like go to the water park or go out to a park or do something. She just can't sit at home. But he's more like in the winter, like in the summertime, he's fine, but in the wintertime, he doesn't want to go anywhere. And so,
Okay, so he's like a vampire, only comes out during certain
yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah.
Pretty much.
But I don't know. I mean, but then like on Facebook though, I mean, she's praising him and oh, he's so wonderful. I love you and blah blah blah. But I'm like, what the hell?
It looks
Okay,
good.
yeah, that's what I mean. Facebook,
Even with some music on it,
yeah,
the love music.
the love music. You're the best.
She's good.
Yep,
Straight up.
I'm like, yeah, you could be a good video artist or something. I don't know. I can't figure out how to make these videos.
Facebook romance. That's what it is.
I know.
So in that relationship, so you guys don't see the other person, and I don't necessarily mean the boyfriend, but just in that relationship, one dragging the other person down.
Right, right. Yeah, because I think in a relationship it should be both. Both, I mean, of course, you're not going to have everything like me and my husband, we don't like everything the same.
Right.
But at the same time, if he wanted to go see an art exhibit and wanted to look at different paintings, I'm not really into art, but I would go with him just to go do the experience,
Right.
you know, and try to find something. I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm not really sure what you're talking about, but if he, like if he knew, like, oh, this is how they did it, and that, he could explain it to me, then I'd be like, oh, okay, now I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus like, or one time on Valentine's Day, we went to this one restaurant, and it was like where they came out and they explained all the food and how they cooked it and all this stuff, and he was like, wow, this is really cool, because he really, like, I didn't know what they're talking about. The food was good, but I had no idea.
But I cook. So.
But he watches all these cooking shows and videos, so he knows all the terms. So it was something that he really enjoyed. You know what I mean?
And I I think that it's good that that you have relationships like that, but I'm just going to turn it back to the interloper part, because you do have people out there who may see the relationship that you have with your husband, and they get jealous and they try to come in between the two of you.
Oh, I know what you. Oh, oh yeah, I know. I understand what you're saying, because yeah, there's this one girl at his other job that she was texting, like he had friended her on Facebook, and he didn't really say anything to me, and then all of a sudden I saw he was like messaging her back and forth, and it was like after work hours, but I'm like, what's this? And then like, but the messages weren't anything like, oh, hey, how's it going, or yeah, that happened at work last night, or it was just kind of like work related, but just kind of, and then little jokes here and there. And but then I told him, I said, I don't like it, because I said, you're at work. I mean, that's fine. You're talking to people. I get it. You joke around and say things at work or whatever. But when you're off work, you shouldn't be texting somebody like that.
Okay. Okay.
Because I feel that's how things could happen. Because then she was like, well, I'm having a really hard time with my boyfriend. Oh man, and then and it's like, then he might be like short with me or something, because he wanted to really text her, but he couldn't, like, oh, what do you want now? Because
So Mrs. B, let me ask this. I'm last week we were talking about internet stalkers. And I earlier before you came on, I was talking about how I have a troll.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that trolls and internet stalkers or people who stalk period um, are interlopers? Now, Mr. B said no, for the most part, but I think they are because they're trying to come between you and something. May not necessarily between you and another person, but
Right.
if you have a troll or someone who is stalking you, they're an interloper. They're trying to come between something. So that's what I think. What do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they're trying to come be like, or like you said, you have a stalker. Like you mean on your show or something?
Yeah, I have a stalker or a troll who's on my show, and this person trolls me on other shows, and they know that I know, whatever, but they continue to do it, and I'm just okay, you want to play this game, we can, but I think this person is crazy.
Oh yeah, I think. Oh yeah, I think definitely there are people that definitely get on these shows and then they just talk and then they want to get in the middle of the conversation and just throw it off and just have no reason but just to be
They might
fun.
enjoy it, right?
They might enjoy it or they might just think they're gonna get you mad enough where you don't want to. Well, I'm just gonna quit the show and I'm not gonna do a show anymore. You
Well,
know.
that's not going to happen. So.
Right. But I mean, yeah, I don't. You know what I mean? But yeah,
You're getting something out of it. Question is what?
yeah.
So, okay, so an interloper who is an interloper, who is purposely trying to come between your friends and your family, it's like they're trying to get something out of it, but what is the end game? To have you all to themselves, to have you, like you said, quit the show, or you're not going to you'll quit your job, you're not going to go to that school anymore. I mean, what is the end game?
No.
I don't know.
And that's when I say, can some interlopers, people who are interlopers, who are purposely, and you see it, they're in your face all the time, they're purposely trying to come in between you and someone else. If you do something, you'll say, "Oh, you don't want to go with that person because she's doing this," or I heard that they were doing that. Something to just, is it again just to have you all to themselves, or is it just once they break up the friendship or the family, whatever, they just move on to their next target or their next victim?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Interloper Jennifer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my dad. My dad had this friend, so-called friend, but she was an interloper. Basically, she was trying to get in the middle of my dad. He passed away last year, but prior to that, he got really sick.
Yeah.
You know, and so you know what I mean. And so then she was always in the middle trying to find out what we were doing or what's going on and this and that. But
Clean shoes, buddy.
Okay, all right. So anybody else want to pop up here? Because I know the Mr. and Mrs. B, they've been doing a lot of talking. I appreciate it.
right. My son just showed up. They're gonna help me put my pool together. So
Okay, well, thank you, thank you. Oh, and here comes Crucible. Here comes Crucible.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I think interloper. It's an interesting term, and I think it depends on the situation because there are definitions of interloper that are a little more benign than what you're using, but I think they can come in different shapes and sizes. I think interlopers are people who intentionally want to cause harm in a relationship or a situation. I know I've seen definitions where there's simply, Budinskis, as we used to call them, or people who just stick their nose in where it doesn't belong, people who interfere in an innocent way, or their intentions may be good, but the outcomes are poor. That's probably rare circumstances. I think interlopers in most people's world are people who are intentionally trying to get in between people. But I think after you've seen a couple of them, and we've all seen them to some degree, you can kind of see what you're dealing with. You can kind of act accordingly. You can have a conversation or be in communication with the person or persons they're trying to disrupt the relationship with. And if people can all get on the same page and say, okay, we think we know what's happening here, we think we know what this person is up to, we're on the same page, that's a way to fight back. But interlopers typically, in my experience, and thankfully I have not dealt with a lot of them, unless they think they're getting under your skin or they're making progress in their ulterior motives to undermine whatever they're trying to undermine, people like that, they get their jollies, if that's the word, by seeing people suffer or by seeing their fruits of their labor manifest. So in other words, if they think they're getting under your skin, they're pissing you off, they're causing harm in your life, that's fuel for their fire. A lot of times when no one's paying attention or they're not getting the desired results, they'll disappear. They'll go someplace else where they're going to get the attention that they crave. Interlopers are insecure in a lot of ways, but they're people who demand attention. And if it doesn't come to them organically, they'll find a way to create it on their own, and it's generally not going to be positive. So I have found that if they're ignored, they don't always go away, and they don't always go away right away. But just like bullies on the playground and any other kind of a social media setting, if people aren't getting the attention they're craving, they'll go someplace else and get it. So I know it sounds like an easy fix, but sometimes just ignoring these people, it's the last thing that they want and the best remedy, I think, for handling it.
You know, you've made some good points. But sometimes it's not about, to me at least, if you ignore them, like the bully, they will just go away, because a lot of times when you're ignoring that bully, they may stop messing with you, but they find another target. And to me, that's even worse. So to me, when you call people out, or even if you're not calling them out directly, you're just letting them know, like, if you think you're getting under my skin, you aren't. But if you want to play this dance, hey, I got a lot of records that I can play, and we can dance all night, whatever. If you call them out and you let them know, and you're in their face, to me, then that's when they may, and I say quote unquote may, stop. Because people like that, all they do is they may leave you alone, but they find another target. And to me, you need to just shut them down. And the way to shut them down is either to embarrass them or call them out and say, I know who you are. I know what you're doing, or, you're a bully. You need to stop picking on little Johnny, every time you're trying to take away his lunch money. How would you like someone to do this to you? And you start doing the same thing to them that they're doing to you. So I know you're going to push back on me, Crucible.
Not on this one. No, I'm not. I don't disagree. I think there's certain types of behaviors that are able to be remedied. Certainly at the younger the age, the better chance you have to address it or fix it. But I also think there are certain behaviors.
Crucible, can I interrupt you for a moment? Linda, sure. I'm not warning you about anything. I just truly just said welcome. It was a welcome. I welcome everyone who comes into my to the room. So it was just a welcome. All right, go ahead, Crucible. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, and so I think there's certain behaviors that just aren't fixable. Certainly as you get farther into adulthood, people have more accrued experiences. They're liable to build up resentment or animosity depending on how life has treated them, about how society views them. And we may dismiss these people as kooks or crackpots or predators of some kind, but they're not. Most of the time, they're not stupid people. They've taken them. They know that society has taken their measure. They have not. Society has not responded the way they would like them to, and they feel like they've been marginalized or labeled and put in a category where nobody's going to pay attention to them. So I think your point is a good one. I was about to say that before I stopped talking a little while ago. Sometimes the remedy is to give them a taste of their own medicine. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but we've all seen the stories, or we've seen the sitcoms where the bully is giving the kid a hard time on the playground, and through some set of circumstances, the kid decides to confront the bully, punches him in the nose, the bully runs off. I mean, I know it doesn't always happen quite that neatly, but and suddenly there's harmony back in this person's life, because the interlopers, that's the last thing they're expecting. They think they've got everybody intimidated. They think they've got people on the ropes or on the run, and they're not expecting pushback, and they're certainly not expecting a taste of their own medicine. So I think that's a valid point. Sometimes people got to get punched in the nose to feel what it's like to get a punch in the nose.
So let me ask this. Can you guys hear? Crucible, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought my mic was going to go out again. Okay, so you were talking about bullies. So if you call a bully out in grade school or high school or even college, do you think you're preventing that person from being a bully further down the road? That you're not going to be that adult bully? And when I say that adult bully, I'm talking about you have those people who are at work, male and female, who can make your life hell just because they think they can, or they run for public office. I'm not trying to turn this into a political thing, or they become a teacher and they bully their students, or they're that doctor whose bedside manner is just horrible because they think that they're the doctor, so therefore they can talk to their patients however, and you being the patient think that you have no other choice. So do you think that if you call, and that's why I say that you need to call people out, because it's like, if you don't, all they're going to do is they may stop messing with you, but they'll find someone else to mess with. So you call out that bully when they're young, if they're young bullies, so they hopefully they may not become a bully when they're older.
The thing that I have always noticed about bullies, the trait that they all seem to have in common, that goes under the category I mentioned earlier about behavior traits that I don't know are fixable, because these are I believe, genetic things, and I believe they are very much influenced by your home life. And the thing they have in common is a profound lack of empathy. And I know everybody knows what the word empathy means, but just real quick, it's an inability to put yourself in another person's position and understand how they feel. And when that develops at an early age, and parents don't take the child aside to say, look, this is how your behavior is affecting other people. Did you see how that person looked when you said this to them? Did you see how they reacted when you did this to them? Do you understand how your words or how your actions can hurt people? And if you're teaching that lesson at a very early age, you've got a chance to fix it. But empathy is one of those things, I believe, you can develop it and you can fine tune it, but I don't think you can create it out of whole cloth. I think that is a critical, it is one of the key things that separates us from other mammals, our ability to reason and rationalize, to say, if I say this or do this to this person, here's how they're going to feel. So I'm not going to do that. Or I remember when so and so said this or did this to me, and I remember how I felt. I'm not going to do that to them. So without the empathy gene, I don't believe you're ever going to get through to people, kids, adults, whoever they are, because they're lacking from a very early age. That either they didn't have the conversation with their parents, or some of the excuse me, some, I'm not going to get into the whole serial killer thing, but you read the stories about Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy and the things they did as children to other, not necessarily other children, but to animals, to insects, things that are just, there's no other word to describe it except cruel. And that's a sign that from a very early age, they weren't aware of pain. They weren't aware of what they were inflicting on other people. So that's an extreme example. I understand that. But empathy is what bonds us together as people. Without it, we've got chaos. So I don't know if I've answered your question or not, but I think the common trait with bullies is a lack of empathy. And unless that gets developed early on, it's awfully hard to teach later on.
I agree with you, and your use of the word empathy is interesting to me. But I am going to ask this: do you think being an interloper is the same thing as being a bully? Do you think an interloper who is trying to purposely, and I say the word purposely, trying to become between family or friends or whomever, that person has the potential to be a bully?
Absolutely, no question about it. I think that's a good point. I think they share common characteristics, and there's an other trait that I believe bullies and interlopers share, and it's selfishness. They're very self-consumed, and that's sort of a subset of empathy. When you have empathy, it means you're connected to other people. You have a sense of how they're feeling under certain circumstances and situations. When you're self-absorbed and when you're selfish, you're only thinking about yourself and how things make you feel. And so, yeah, I think whether it's a troll, on a podcast or something, they're I'm trying to lose my train of thought here. Yeah, I think no matter what they're doing, they know exactly what they're doing, and I think it's all by design, and I think that's another common thing that they have. When you're thinking of other people, you don't have time to be selfish. You don't have time to be self-absorbed. You could make a case for narcissism. I know there's a couple of different definitions of narcissism, but in narcissism, one of the crux of narcissism is you are extremely self-absorbed to the point of not really having any idea or caring about how other people feel. So yeah, I think there's a lot of parallels between what you just said: bullies, interlopers, selfish people, and people who lack empathy. I think those are all tied together.
Okay, all right. And I was not reading the comments because there really have not been that many comments, but I am going to read this one. Crucible, Mr. T says, "Wow, I thought Crucible was going to say it's the single parent households." And that guy says, "Many hecklers are interlopers and internet trolls. Some people also like being a tourist in other people's lives." So it's interesting the way you say that, being a tourist in other people's lives. To me, that's AKA for you're being nosy. You're sticking your nose where where um it doesn't belong. So again, those interlopers who feel that your family is dragging you down or your friends are dragging you down when it's actually them. you know um how do you make interlopers aware of what they're doing? How do you make that schoolyard bully aware of what they're doing? And again, we talked about this last week, and yes, there are things that are going on in their own lives that make them do whatever. But when you have an interloper, someone who is purposely trying to interfere, um, what do you do? I mean, At what point do you just tell them to back off, or do you just play along? Because my troll that I have on Podbean, I'm playing along, you know, letting I'm just playing along. I'll leave it like that, But they are an interloper. They're intervening where they absolutely have no clue in terms of what they think. They have no clue. So
Yeah, I think if you were going to have a conversation with either this person who's been trolling your show or anybody who falls into the category or has the traits we've been talking about, I don't know, like I said, unless you're talking to a child who still has the ability to develop their processes of rationale and reasoning. Adults, I don't believe, I think they're, like as I was saying earlier, there's an accrual of experiences that takes place by the time you're 25, 35, 45, whatever it is, that shapes your view of the world. And if you think that other people have gotten unfair advantages over you, or they've gotten ahead in life where you did certain things and they didn't, but yet they were rewarded, and you've got this animosity that builds up. And if you were to take somebody aside, I think, to say, now, do you understand what your behavior has been doing? Do you understand the damage it's been causing? Do you understand the damage it's been causing to you, not just other people? Because interlopers and bullies and people like that, they've got a huge blind spot. They never see their role in the chaos. It's always a response to somebody else's behavior. So if somebody's trolling you or if somebody's bullying you, they're responding to something they don't like in you. This is usually a one-way, type of a thing. So they're not going to necessarily respond to your feedback because that part of their brain has shut down. They're focused exclusively outwardly. They're not necessarily seeing anything come back the other way. So you can't be an interloper or a bully without a huge blind spot, because that's what allows you to rationalize your behavior. I'm doing this because this other person did this first or is continuing to do these things. So my only response can be this: if they stop doing these things, then I would stop too. So they don't see their role. They see it as a response to somebody else's bad behavior. They don't necessarily see their bad behavior.
okay, so I'm going to play both sides here. So let's take the I'm going back to the schoolyard bully, because I'm going to bring up the shootings again. Let's say you had those kids at school, and being a parent, um, I saw it. I saw it all the time where kids who were being bullied either were not taken seriously, were told to, oh, just ignore them, just ignore them, they'll get tired of you, and they'll move on, but the bully didn't move on. They didn't get tired of you. Meanwhile, the person who you're going to for help, either your parent or the school, whatever, they're not helping you. And I'm just going to say it. They let you down. They let that person down. So what happens when the person says, or this child says, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and they come back with a gun? Let's say you're at the workplace. And again, guys, I'm playing both sides here. So please don't jump on me, because I think shootings are horrible. You're at the workplace. You go to HR. This boss is not treating you well. This person is just downright mean, and HR isn't doing anything. Well, we have to go through steps. First, we have to go through mediation. Then we have to do this. Then we have to do this. Meanwhile, this person knows that you've gone to HR, and they've ramped up the things that they're doing. So you're fed up. It's very stressful. You go home. You bring back a gun. You know what do? So are they really being that bully who, has no concept of reality or what is going on? Or were some bullies just let down? Anybody?
Well, like I was saying, I mean, I think most bullies, um, they lack self-esteem. They didn't get it either through their parents or through their, friends in school. They were never included, and they developed this subconscious attitude about how the world sees them, and a lot of it, I think, can be traced to these shootings. I don't want to turn it into a shooting conversation either, but I think there's some common denominators that run through a lot of these shootings, and I think the person who gets fed up, just to answer your question, and comes back with a gun, that person clearly, no matter what has happened to them before this, no matter how much abuse they've taken, I'm not talking about physical abuse, but mental abuse and whatnot. If you're a rational person, uh, the answer is not to go home and get a gun.
Right.
So if you go to get a gun, you're probably dealing with some similar, not the same, but similar challenges with regard to sorting out not just right and wrong, but two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not going to solve anything by shooting this person. So that if they do think they're going to solve something by shooting them, then that tells you they're not exactly thinking clearly as well. But I think when we get these shootings, when bullies act the way they do, interlopers, it's a cry for help, obviously. I mean, it is stating the obvious, but they don't have a voice. They don't feel like they're part of society in the way they want to be part of society. And they know they can't fix it. And a lot of times with bullies and narcissists and trolls and people, they crave control over things, particularly they know they'll never have control over. So that's why they go in the background, and that's why they try to wreak havoc in subversive and ulterior ways that may not get noticed, because they know, from a material standpoint, they're never going to be heard. They've tried to be heard most of their lives, and they've convinced themselves that they're always going to be marginalized. And those people may think a gun is the right response. I don't know, but I think bullies and interlopers and trolls, all those people, they're responding to the accrued experiences that they've had. And again, I think the blind spot is that they don't see their role in how they arrived at where they are in society today. They see it as a series of external events and things that have happened to them. They don't necessarily see their fingerprints on the crime scene, if you will. I don't mean a crime scene literally, but they don't see their contribution to their situation. It's all things that have been done to them. And that can really result in a lot of anger and a lot of resentment and a lot of hostility. And that's where a lot of this violence bears out, is when you finally get to the point where this is never going to change. Nobody loves me. Nobody likes me. Nobody even knows I'm alive. And that's where that behavior comes from. But I think it's a lack of inclusion is what leads to these things, and a lot of jealousy and a lot of insecurity.
Well, that's where I would say that, for someone who's an interloper, who's purposely trying, come between, you and your friends or whatever, and if you have that bully, it's like the bully got to that point. And again, guys, I'm playing both sides. The bully got to that point for a reason, and I disagree with, I don't know, Mr. T. I'm looking at your comment when you're saying it will pass, in terms of, the bully will pass, whatever. I think, for me personally, one of the worst things you can tell your child is to ignore someone, especially if your child is coming home all the time stressed out, they're crying, they're upset, and you keep sending them back to the same situation, saying, ignore ignore it. You know, at what point do you, as a parent, step up to the plate, listen to what your child is saying, and trying to find out what the hell is going on where my child is feeling like this? Because the last thing you want is for your child to go home, get one of your guns or baseball bat or whatever, and instead of just sitting down in the principal's office talking about how you guys can deal with this, You're at the police station talking about, charges that your child has for assault or murder. I mean, people, their their stress levels can only take so much. And whether you're an adult being bullied or you feel that something was not right, and I'm saying if these people went to the right channels and they did everything they were supposed to do, they did everything the right way. But as we know, the system lets people down. What do you do? What do you do? But then again, you have that interloper who is just, they just want to come between, two friends, or, they want, they know you and your brother are really close, or you and your sister are really, really close, and they do their best to try to come between people. I mean, I have seen it. I have seen friends of mine who have tried to come between siblings. And I'm like, are you serious? They're brother and sister. You're not going to split. Well, I just think that you're not going to split that up. And in the end, those two siblings turned against that person, and that person was asked out. So,
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I think what a lot of times what happens when, just to take the example that you just gave, trying to split up siblings or trying to split up, really, really lifelong close friends, um, you're, yeah, I mean, you're trying to affect an outcome that is not going to happen naturally or organically. So, in other words, you have to take matters into your own hands, because if I left it to its own devices, if I left it to unfold organically, it would not go the direction I want it to go. So that means I've got to get actively involved and try to take a role in splitting these two siblings up, or creating the situation that I want, because it's not going to develop on its own. So I've got to get involved here. And I think that's where they share the same traits. They see how the world works. They see how they're received in the world. They see how they're treated. We all know. You don't have to be more than 20 years old to kind of get a sense through your time in school, hanging out with your friends, social settings. Are you a popular person? Are you well received? Do people generally ignore you? Are you generally standing in a room full of people talking to nobody? You get a sense of how the world sees you after a certain point in your life, and that kind of gets locked in, and we tend to believe that's how we're seen. And if that's a positive thing, we're probably going to be pretty okay mental health wise. But if we've convinced ourselves that things are always going to go against us, we feel we have no choice but to get more actively involved in situations, because we have to force outcomes. They're not going to develop on their own the way we want them to, so we have to force them. And that's when you get the dividing of siblings and trying to split up families, or trying to split up married couples, or whatever it happens to be. You don't like a certain situation. You wish it would change. You know it's probably not going to change unless you do something about it. And that's where that control thing comes in, I think.
okay. And you said force the situation. That sounds like what Mr. T did. And I could be wrong, because I am using the term force the situation, Mr. T, and what you said. He said, I'm not saying fighting solves everything, but it did with my daughter. I taught my daughters how to punch. A little boy was bullying my daughter at school. The teacher informed me about it. We dealt with it at home. The final result was my daughter had to sock this kid to make him stop. The teacher came to me and said the boy deserved it, and my daughter didn't get into trouble. So I mean, and sometimes you have to force it. Sometimes, you know, again, that bully, the only way they're going to learn is you got to knock the shit out of them. Excuse my French, but that's what has to happen. They just don't get it any other way. And the boys' parents can run up to school and say, "Oh, you hit my child, whatever." Yeah, but what has your child been doing for the last year? Last since he's been here, whatever, and you're looking the other way, or other parents of the bully, they tend to say, oh, your child's just a wuss, or, excuse my French, I'm gonna say it, your child's a pussy, whatever. But like Mr. T says, it was the final straw. If you're not going to handle it, then we need to do it. And you don't want me to hit the kid, because he may not get back up. So my daughter did it, or my son did it. And that's when I say that, this turning the other cheek, and what was it? Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Okay, but my fist will. So you know so and Cruzbo's the only one that's up here on the panel, but I'm going to ask him to respond to what I'm about to ask. But I asked the rest of you guys the same thing. If you respond to a bully by knocking the crap out of them when they're younger, does an adult bully have to have the same thing? Does an adult bully need to have the crap knocked out of them? Does your boss, who is a bully, and everyone knows he is, even HR knows he is, someone needs to knock the crap out of him in order to get him to stop? Does he need to be taken behind the woodshed and get his ass whooped in order for him to stop? And is that what needs to happen to possibly stop some of these shootings where, okay, I'm not going to bring a gun to school, but I'm going to beat the crap out of the people who have been treating me the way they've been treating me, and I've been asking for help, but no one wanted to listen. Is that the next shit? We just have everybody just beat the crap out of each other. We'll have a lot of broken bones, but people will still be alive.
Well, when it comes to handling it with an adult, let's say it's a boss at work, does that person need to get the crap knocked out of him or her? That's a tough one because adults don't see physical violence the way kids do. Kids don't have any other recourse as kids. They're not in a work environment. There's no HR to go to. They have to handle things themselves, and usually the way
No,
to do
but
that is
there is
physically.
but there is the HR. The HR is the principal. The HR is the school system that's letting them down. So they do have HR.
Well, if you think that taking your boss behind the building or the woodshed or whatever and beating the crap out of him is going to fix anything, I think that's very misguided. Now, if you were to cause trouble with him, for him in his career or her career, a suspension, a firing, a fine, a demotion, I mean, a relocation to a really crappy area. I mean,
Crucible,
things that will.
crucible. I mean, come on now. I mean, and only reason why I was with you up until this point, because if you, again, you're relocating them to do what? To possibly do the same thing to someone else.
Well, all I'm saying is they'll recover from their physical injuries and they can be a
Yeah,
bully
but
just
they
as bad
also,
2 weeks
right.
later.
Right, but they also know that if people find out, which I'm pretty sure they will find out, that they got their butt kicked, then if they try to do that someplace else that down the road, then they can be warned, like, yeah, you try this crap with us again, we gonna beat the shit out of you too.
Yeah, beating the shit out of somebody always gets somebody's attention, but does it fix the problem? I don't think as
No.
adults that's how we handle things. So theoretically, are you right? Probably, but from a practical standpoint, people take other measures when they get to be adults, and in the workplace there are other things that could cause far more damage to that person, that employer, that boss, than any punch in the nose ever could, and those people know it. So would you want to punch him in the nose and get him in trouble with HR? Sure, of course. I'm not above punching somebody in the nose if I think it will fix the problem. Kids can fix problems with punches in the nose. I don't know if adults can. I think it's a little more complicated than that.
See, I have to disagree with you, and again I say, if this happened with people, would we have less turmoil that we have? I mean, look at all the priests who have been accused of, sexual abuse. I mean, because back in the day when you accused Father Pete, you would probably go home and your mother would probably say, "Oh, Father Pete, he is a saint. He would never do that." Well, come to find out, 20 years later, Father Pete's been dipping, for the last 30 years. So if you beat the crap out of Father Pete when it first happened, maybe the last 29 years would not have happened, because all Father Pete is happening is they're being moved from parish to parish to parish. Nothing is being done. All you're doing is just putting a band-aid on it, moving the person to another church, and they're doing it again.
But
So
what
this
makes
is
you think? What makes you think? You just said, and that was very much the response. I went to a Catholic grade school, and there were rumors. I went to a Catholic high school, and there were plenty of rumors then between the priests and the brothers. There were strong rumors that turned out not to be rumors. They turned out to be very true. So let's take your example. I come home from school and I say, Father so-and-so, he's been getting kind of weird. He's been, touched me here and me. No, Father, he was not. He's a great man. He's a blah, 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 blah. And they would shut you down. It wasn't until decades later that all this stuff was true. So let's create the same scenario from a physical violence standpoint. I don't go home to my parents, or maybe I do. And I'm talking to my mom and my dad, and they're shutting me down, saying, he's a good man. He's a man of God. He would never, blah, blah, blah. And they're not having any of it. So you go, you know what? I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy tomorrow. And you beat the shit out of the priest tomorrow, and you come home and you go, Mom, I got fixed. Do you really think she'd be like, Billy, you did such a nice job of handling that situation.
no,
You beat the shit.
no.
You'd be in deep shit.
Okay, let me ask this. What if you beat the crap out of the father and you didn't go home and tell your parents? I doubt very seriously, and I don't know why I keep saying Pete, but I doubt very seriously if Father Pete is going to go back and tell your parents that Crucible beat me up. He's going to keep his mouth shut, and more than likely, all of your friends are going to know what you did to Father Pete, and they could have even helped. I think that Father Pete would know, you try to pull this again, you're gonna get another ass whooping.
Well, we're going back to the 70s now,
No, I
and
mean, no,
people would
I
know.
understand that. I understand that. I'm just saying, had that happened, would we have the same situation? That same person have brought their sickness into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and
I think you're
beyond?
being very generous with Father Pete's response. Father Pete back then, this was 40 years ago. There was no talk of pedophiles. There was no talk of and even though it was all true. So back then, we can't put ourselves in 2022. He would
So you're
fight for
saying
his
that
rep.
you're saying that he would go home or go to your parents and say that this is what they did, and you're going to tell me that a whole bunch of kids are not going to stand up, even if they were shut down? You're going to tell me these kids are not going to say, we beat him up because he was touching me there?
You got proof? You got
No,
proof he was touching you there? So your
no.
parents are going to, so you
Okay,
go,
okay,
this is
okay,
wait, let me finish.
okay.
It was 40 years ago. Priests and brothers and people in the clergy were revered. They walked on water, no pun intended. They were revered. So the societal and the parental response is going to be, you must be mistaken. You are wrong. Priests don't do that kind of a thing. And if you ever say that again, you're really going to be in trouble. So unless you have actual proof and evidence and witnesses 40 years ago, that thing's going nowhere.
Okay, so let me ask this. Why do you think 40 years later it is going somewhere? What changed?
The passage of time / the accrual of examples and evidence. Too many boys have been abused. Too many examples. Too many admissions. Too many confessions. Too much evidence. Too much admission of cardinals and maybe not popes, but some of the more senior people turning a blind eye, even though they knew what was being alleged was true. It was a huge exercise in denial. But at a certain point, after so many years went by and so many people stepped forward and there was so much concrete, tangible, irrefutable evidence, it was impossible not to connect the dots. So I think the passage of time and the illustration that even though you're a clergy member or you're a member of the priesthood, you have just as much chance of being a flawed, sinful human being that is capable of fallibility, regardless of what your mode of dress looks like. Just because you have a collar on and you have these long robes on, you're a fallible human being. And I think for the longest time, we decided the clergy were different. I don't care how much evidence there was; it's not true. The clergy would never do that. It
Okay,
became
okay, but
impossible to ignore, and that's why we have so many people coming forward now.
okay, so let's go back those 40 years, and let's say that everyone is speaking up, and again, you said because people are coming up, and then the evidence, let's say that the same evidence that's here now, people are talking, you show that this is happening. You don't think that 40 years ago, if people has spoke up the way they are speaking up now, because for the most part, it's still a he said she said thing. It is still a he said she said, especially for people who are coming back and saying, yeah, 20 years ago this happened to me. So again, you say, where is the proof? It's not like anybody taped it or anything, but if enough people are coming out, and if enough people came out 40 years ago, you don't think that Father Pete would have been in prison?
I think back in that time, because I can talk about it because I grew up in it in the 60s and 70s. I was an altar boy. I was around a lot of Catholic clergy type of people. And I know the place that they occupied in the ecosystem of the parish or the high school that I was attending. And they were absolutely revered. They were above reproach. You would get into serious trouble with your parents for saying anything, even though they were probably on the same page. We had some nuns who were some of the meanest people, regardless of whether they're in the clergy or they're lay people. Some of the meanest people I've ever come across to this day. But you'd come home from school and you'd tell your mom, well, the nun, and this would happen, hit me, or she banged my head into the locker. I know we're not talking about sexual predator stuff right now, but whatever the misbehavior was on the part of the clergy, you would be told that didn't happen. That didn't happen. They would never do that. They would never do that. And you'd say, well, Mom, I didn't, and they took me out in the hallway and this did happen. And I wasn't a bad kid. And she slammed my head into the locker and I went back into class. And I happened to mention it to my mom, not like I went home and tattled or anything. I just happened to mention, she's like, oh, she would never do that. So back then, the clergy occupied a place in society that it doesn't occupy anymore. So I don't think people were willing to pull the lid off the thing because it would have caused so much discomfort, and it would have punctured so many of the sacrosanct concepts that people held for so long. It would have forced them to completely rethink their view of that particular group of people, and nobody wanted to do it if there was an alternative. And the alternative was to say, these people are God's chosen ones. They're serving God. They would never do that. That's a sin. These people don't sin. And the conversation stops.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of back in the day, it probably would not have happened. But I went to a Lutheran school from kindergarten through my senior year of high school. Went to a Lutheran grade school. I went to a Lutheran high school. And I guess I should just be thankful for the parents that I had, especially, again, my mother was a complicated person. But when it came to sticking up for her kids, she was there. And Crucible, not to say that your mom and dad didn't, but if I came home saying that, and again, we didn't have nuns and priests for teachers. our pastor was like our religion teacher, and we saw him a lot, whatever. But if I went home and told my mother that Mr. So and so, and I had an issue with my fifth and sixth grade teacher. We had combos, so fifth and sixth grade were in the same room. So I had this man two years in a row, and we did not like each other at all. And he would pick on me, and I would go home and I say, Mr. So and so did this, Mr. So and so did that, whatever. My mother was up at that school in a heartbeat. She was pissed because she had to take time off from work, but she went up there to see. And he would usually admit, yeah, I did this to her, and I said this, whatever. My mother was all over him, to the point where she threatened him and said, "You, because he hit me once. You paddle my daughter again, I'm gonna knock the shit out of you." Now, you know, I've done the same thing with my son before my son was homeschooled. I did the same thing to a teacher at a Lutheran school. You do this to my kid again, I'm going to lay you out. It stopped. That fifth and sixth grade teacher that I had, it stopped. His whole attitude toward me changed, which allowed me to just get through the rest of the school year and move on to seventh grade. So I don't know. I just think, again, you tell people you're gonna knock the crap out of them, and they think that you will, or you actually do it. Oh no, I think the conversation totally changes. I think it totally changes. Crucible, I'm gonna come back to you. I'll let you respond, but Chill, you have come in. So what would you like to say? And thank you, Frankie. Chill, you there?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
okay, you're here. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just coming up. I'm, yeah, go ahead. I wasn't trying to
No, I
interrupt
mean,
at the moment.
did you want to comment or anything?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
In
everyone,
general,
I know the topic has totally changed, but that's cool. Go ahead, Chill.
I mean, in general, it's kind of a couple of different ways of handling kind of bully. I mean, I'm not gonna let my child go anywhere being uncomfortable, but but it depends on the situation at hand. And hello everyone. And so basically, for me, I do think it's a necessary evil to teach your children how to handle bullies, though. Um, it builds character and shows them that, you know, I'm not going to be here all the time. So you're going to have to figure this out. So, however you want to handle it, you're going to have to handle it. But one thing you won't do with my child is having them in there being scared. I don't think that none of these kids that's doing these shootings, though, I don't think, I mean, I think that is a result, technically, from us the way we handle things, the way these school shootings are, and people getting internet bullied, and not being able to lash out and stuff like that. I think that's to some degree okay, but I think it's more so of us being more secluded in our families. Right, we're not really intertwined enough to really even know each other. Not eating at the table no more. We're not, spending time liking or not liking each other no more. We just off to our own selves, and so you don't even know. And then society in general, it's got so morbid just by itself. Kids are being exposed to certain things at a way younger age than the average person in maybe the 50s or 60s. Child, I should say, in the 50s or 60s. You got a phone in your hand by 5 years old, watching porn, or killing, or shootings, or games on TV that kill, or playing games on TV that curse. I mean, you get just good parents that don't let things like that happen, but for the most part, it's happening. So it's just a shift in times, and I don't. I think it's just it's not the Wild West though, right? So it's So I don't know. It's really hard to
But
pinpoint
chill.
what
Would
really
it be
happens.
better if it were the Wild West? What if it were the Wild West? It's like, you gonna come up on me and we gonna see each other out in the middle of the street, bang bang. I mean, to me, my thing is, you take away the guns and you let people duke it out the way they did back in the day. You don't have those issues. You just
I mean,
beat
you
the
can't
crap
take
out of
away the
somebody.
guns though, right? That's constitutionally
No,
impossible. So
no,
let's
I'm just
mm,
having a scenario that if people put, okay, I won't take the guns away. Let's put the guns down and we go out and we beat the shit out of each other and see who is standing. At least there are two people that are still living as opposed to one person dead.
I think I mean, in schools they do that. I mean, it's like that in schools. I mean, I'm not, I mean, I think it's like that in schools. It's just, this is the thing about this. We have, whether it's with the police, this is what I don't like. Whether it's with the police, whether it's with the school shootings, it's a lot in the grand scheme of things in reference to like other countries, other areas. But in the everyday life, there's a gazillion occurrences where there's what I'm saying. It's a 1% of 1% of 1% of these happenings are happening, and we're dealing with a whole country here. So that 1% of 1% of 1% could probably be like 10 a year, right? And so you put that on TV. Now everybody thinks that the police is gonna kill you when you get pulled over. So statistically, it's not even. It's like almost never happens. But the almost never happens. There is so many million people here. We put it on TV, and now people really scared of the police. People really scared. Listen to me. I've done some crazy shit to where if all that shit was true, I'd have been dead, especially with the police. So it's just bad occurrences, and they're televised now. Do you know how many times that in the '70s that it was way worse with the police, way like tremendously worse, or even bullies. Like, but I could walk on to school. I just remember like gangs. Oh my gosh, that was way worse in the '80s. And so we didn't have phones though, right? So it's gotten so much better, and we're acting like it got worse when we just got the shit on TV. So it's not like, uh, I mean, you just got to learn how to deal with it. But I think people still fight just because we see these shootings. We acting like kids don't fight no more. Just because we see yeah, this shit happens. Shit happens still, and it's a tragedy. But for the most part, I think that no one's really picking up guns and just shooting each other more than certain parts of history. The people still fight. They just don't like losing and they shoot you. That's been everywhere. My uncles was doing that.
Well, chill. Let me ask this. Going back to what Crucible and I were talking about, do you believe that back in the day and even now, if you beat Father Pete's butt for touching you that way, he would have continued to touch other kids that way 30 and 40 years later? Don't you think that? I mean, and this is just what I think. I think
Yeah,
you beat his ass and he would have stopped. He would have gotten the message
nah.
because other kids would have known what happened, and if you do it again, you're gonna get another ass whooping.
Let me tell you this, solid. I could tell you from personal experience. You go whoop. I could go whoop my sister's or my cousin's boyfriend for fighting or putting their hands on her, and guess what? Tomorrow will bring just an awkward situation at the barbecue when you see that motherfucker pop up and sit right by her and kiss her
Well,
in the
that's
mouth.
because she allowed it. But I'm not talking about that. I'm
And
not
same
talking
thing.
about somebody. But
Like, let me
hold
tell
on.
you, I'm
I'm not
leading to
talking about
something.
somebody allowing them
No,
back
no.
into your
I'm
life.
leading to something. I'm
Okay,
leading
go
to
ahead.
something. So therefore, when you whoop fathers, whoever's ass, long as they don't ain't get caught, that ain't gonna do nothing but make a awkward situation for the next time you see them, and they gonna be acting. That ain't gonna do. Ain't gonna help shit. You got to remove that person from. The people like that are sick. You just won't. You ain't gonna fix them with an ass whooping. Now you can try to beat them into whatever, but when they, like I said, like for my standpoint, my father whooped my ass. It just made me be sneakier better.
Okay, but if you remove them, I don't mean remove them and put them in another parish or put them in another school, or you remove the school bully. He may not be the bully at PS12, but now he's the bully at PS14. If you are going to remove them, you have to
Hmm.
remove them for good
Absolutely.
where they don't go anywhere.
Absolutely. And but the thing is, they that's not the godly way, because you try to give forgiveness and try to help them.
I'm not
They
trying
were
to
trying to
do
help
the
the
I'm not
what?
trying to
I'm
do the
not
godly
you. We're
way
not talking about you.
when they're
We're talking about the
touching my
Catholic
kid
Church,
there. No, I understand, but when they're touching my kid there and they're doing that to them, uh-uh.
right?
Uh-uh.
So they end up putting a lot of those fathers in the same areas, a special area where they can watch over them, and because they had an issue, um, and
So
that was
why
going on. So
okay,
I
but
think
why
I
put
heard. I
them
came in
back
to
in
tell them when y'all
But why
go
put
ahead.
them back into a church or school? If you're going to put them in an area, then have them at first of all, they should be in jail. But if they're not going to be in jail, then you
Hmm.
call them back to the church where you're the person, doing whatever, but you have absolutely no contact with children at all. You don't look
I
at them, you
think
don't
that was
breathe on
what I
them, you
think
don't
that
do
what it was
anything.
though. For the most part, though, for the most part, a lot of those priests that get proven to do that, they transferred them to areas where they don't. That's the thing. That's why they transfer, but they don't really have to contact or do have nothing to do with children for the most part. I mean, I'm pretty
Well, I,
sure
I have a
some of them after a
problem with the
while get
whole
back into the
transfer
loop,
thing. I have a problem with the whole
but
transfer thing. They need to be transferred into a 6 by whatever 9 cell whatever. That's where they need to be
I
transferred
mean,
to
and I'm pretty
with
sure some of them get their
with
ass beat too.
Bubba with Bubba.
Some of them got their ass beat too. I'm pretty sure some of them got their ass beat. I mean, that was well known. Like even I don't give a damn if it was 30, 40 years. They knew that it was there. It was out there. There was enough children out there to say, hey, this was happening. Now the way they handled things might have been different, but I mean, the church knew. The people in the church knew. I mean, it's hard. It's not change. Go tell somebody about their pastor right now. But right now, go to some, whether it's a Catholic church or even black church. Go tell them something about their pastor, who they love. Oh, not mine. You know what I'm saying? Or if he did, must have been them kids' fault. That little girl, she fast anyway. She be trying to, you know what I'm saying?
No, no, and I get that, and that's where I think that is sad. It's like you may be saying that little girl, yeah, well, she was always this, but what if it happened to
Mm-hmm.
your little girl? What if it's your
Mm-hmm.
son? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh
You
my
right.
God, how could this have happened?
But this ain't never been no. This ain't new in the church. This ain't no new. Whether it was, I don't get rid of it. It ain't nothing new. So they know, you know. So and it's several church figures that got their head bust wide open or been killed over stuff like that. Especially when the people, get older and they hear about, hey, that's such a priest, such and such. Like they come back, man. Them people come back messed up and they want revenge. So, or just in general, you just meet the wrong child. And they do that to the children they know they can do it too, though. You know what I'm saying? They don't necessarily, they pray on the week. They're not going to do that. And that's why sometimes it's unbelievable. So if I'm the same, I got the same priest and he treats me differently. You saying he did this? I think you lying because he never did
But
me
you
like
know
that.
what? But it's interesting. No problem, Mr. T. Thank you very much for coming.
Mr. T,
You
what up?
know, um, you know, you have a great point because there are people who in the past have tried things with me, and I'm not talking about necessarily on a sexual thing, but just tried me, and they were like they would try something with me, or they would turn around to try the same thing with me, and they would turn around and say, "Up, not going to work." So you are absolutely right. It's like they do prey on the weak. Everyone tends to prey on the weak. So that means, should we take classes? Before you know uh uh before you go to school or you take a job, should we have to take a course on how to show strength and how to be strong so people don't mess with you?
Mm. Now I always say that. I say that's always on the parents' fault. I think all children should have a level of discipline instilled in them. They should also have a level of, you know, like when you're in the like karate, like any kind of martial arts, because you can do whatever you like. You can be whoever you want to in those areas. But good luck. You can be undisciplined if you want. You can go ahead and go and be a bully if you want. You can go ahead and guess what's going to happen. Guess what they're going to teach you, and but it's going to be at a young age. You're going to get that understanding. Some people don't believe in that though. So some people don't have money for it. Some people don't have the situation for it. But yeah, absolutely. Like that's we supposed to teach her. That's what the process of even with dealing with bullies. When y'all you got a problem with them, let's take them outside. Hey, y'all just fight it out. That's what it's just an earnest way to get y'all frustrations out. Now people's calling that ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? That's not whatever the words are. It's not, humane to go out there and duke it out and get it over with. And if you could do that, think about, like you said, how the world would be way much better. And a lot of times when you duke it out with that person, especially to get your butt whooped by them, the bully or whoever, just having that heart, you have a respect for that person. And now you end up being friends, setting differences aside. Like that happened in the
No,
hood,
I mean, no,
or
I
where
mean,
I
no,
was at.
I totally get that. We are coming up towards the 2 hour mark, but Chill, I'm gonna start with you since you're already on the mic. Do you want to give your last words of wisdom because you've been saying a lot, and I wish I had more time to push back, but I'm definitely doing another show on this topic. So, you have any last words of wisdom?
Well, no, none as I already said. I do think that uh beware though. Like I know it seems like it's just getting crazy and crazier, but I just think they said the revolution would be televised. That was a damn lie.
Yeah, what
And so,
Gil Scott Heron, he was wrong because the revolution is definitely being televised.
right. that's
So,
that's that's all I gotta say.
and that's a
Nice to see
song
y'all
that
here,
you
y'all.
guys should listen to. The revolution will not be televised, and the revolution is Crucible. Back to you.
Yeah, we've been bouncing around today, so I'm not even sure what my final comments should
You
be
know what? You know what?
about.
And that's fine because this went from interlopers to bullies to Father Pete to
Well, maybe I'll
everything.
just
So
I'll just tie it up into the whole um, interlopers, bullies, Father Pete. You could call him a predator. People who try to inflict because of issues in their own lives. Pick an area of life, whether it's the priesthood, whether it's our bosses, whether it's our friends, whether it's people who don't like us, our enemies. We're all up against some form of adversity all the time, and I'm not a fan of violence, solid, but I would never disagree with the concept of sometimes a punch in the nose is better than a nice long conversation. Sometimes, in order to feel what it's like to get punched in the nose, you got to get punched in the nose. But there's a bunch of different remedies out there. But I think the common thing is, at some point in our lives, and maybe at many points in our lives, we're going to be up against it, and we're going to be fighting a foe that we may not be sure that we can vanquish. It's a great idea to punch somebody in the nose, but if that person's 6'5" and you're 5'8", might not work. So there are other options available. But yeah, we're all up against it at some point in our lives, and how we choose to handle it, is going to depend on the situation. But it's always going to be something.
it is. You're right. It is always going to be something. So guys, I know that if Tuttles was here, he would keep me on topic and what have you. And I know we were all over the place, but yeah, this is something that I want to come back to in terms of I don't know if I'm gonna call it whooping ass or what, but I truly believe. I mean, it's something that I truly believe that if you beat somebody's butt, maybe they need a couple of ass whoopings before they understand exactly what you're trying to convey to them. I just think that you know my physical. Do I want to get physically harmed and have black eyes and and broken bones and I'm not able to move compared to, doing whatever, I think my health would come first. But that's just me. That is just me. So, whew, on that note, everyone, I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Oh, and on Wednesday, Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast will be hosting the show. He will be doing what is he doing? He is doing food shortages, and he will be joined by hold on guys, I have to check because I want to make sure I get the name right. He will be joined by da, 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 da. I'm sorry guys, I am sorry. He will be joined by Prep and Money, who will be talking about the financial side of prepping. So hopefully you guys will come for that. I've really gotten into the whole prepper thing, and I think it's interesting, but that's just me. But hopefully you guys will come. And Crucible, thank you for coming up on the panel. And for all of my silent listeners, thank you very much for listening. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow where we will have another topic to talk about. And on that note, you guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your. And Saturday, I have to start promoting this Saturday. Please tune in to Friendly Differences on Twitter, TikTok, or YouTube. Bahram and I are going to have Kimberly Michael on, Jester, Michael Key, Shy Lady, where we will be talking about white fragility. So that will be Saturday at 12 noon Pacific time on Friendly Differences podcast. Okay, so on that note, guys, everyone, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world. Thank you. Bye. Thank you, D-Mac. I appreciate you. Crucible, thank you. Power Girl, Frankie, Petty Deb was here. Alpha Mike, Mr. B and Mrs. B, thank you. Thank you, thank you. You will. Sweet Willie, thank you very much. And for anyone over there on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, thank you for listening. I appreciate you too very much. I really do. When I say that, I truly, truly mean it. And Frankie, thank you very much for your super chat. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Frankie. Thank you. All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much. Bye.